we're welcoming the launch of Women in Architecture, and it's a growing initiative. It's really set up and established to help support, elevate and connect women across architecture roles. And this is the first architecture event of many, so we'll be looking to activate a series of workshops. And this one's a really interesting one. It's a great way for us to be able to learn from each other about the pathways that we've taken into architecture, and to help people identify where there's opportunities as well. So our goal today, we're going to help support each other. We're going to listen and learn, map the moments that mattered in our careers, uncovering shared experiences. And we want to touch on the blockers and supports that we've had. I know I've certainly had a lot of help along the way as well. And it's with a view to see how we can shape future support and mentoring and advocacy for the newer generation coming through. And it's a really friendly group, shared space, safe space to be able to share your experiences as well. And I hope you all embrace the opportunity to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and enjoy the process. So I'll hand over to Fran. Thanks.
Thanks, Heidi. We might get Daryl, are you able to share your screen, and we'll kick off from there?
Certainly can. And should be sharing now.
So we've got as well, for everyone online, we've got, can anyone see the link that I shared earlier? I can share it again if people aren't seeing it in the chat. So we've got a mural board today. I'll just share it again in case it's not coming up for others. Let me know if you get that link. So we should have a few people in there. I'll see you all coming into the session as you start loading up, but hopefully you can get into the session. And if you can't get into the session, we'll have a few problems. But give me thumbs up if you're getting in. Does this give us thumbs up? Can we? I've got 8 people in the Miro board. Yay, thumbs. All right. Keep loading in, because I don't want to start too early, because I'm assuming there's a couple of people that know how to use Miro, but there might be a few that need a little bit of training. So we just got a little activity before we begin. So we'll start there. I will bring everyone to me just to make sure you can see what we're seeing on the screen as well. And I'll just run through the agenda. And also you can see at the bottom of the page, we've got all the lovely people that have helped us in the lead up to this session. So there's a much bigger group with the Women in Architecture sort of group that comes together to really drive this forward. But the group at the bottom really have been getting together and pulling this workshop together. So thank you to everyone. So the session today, we hope to get done in about 50 minutes, but we'll see how quickly we get done, and maybe there'll be lots of discussions and different points of view that we need to talk out. If we need to extend the session beyond this, we'll make sure we organise this group to come back together. So, but really what we want to do is like Heidi said, we're capturing information about your life experience and your journey through whether you're early stage architecture or on your way, or very mature in your architecture journey. We want to hear your experiences along the journey. And this is not just about women. This is about everyone's experience and where those moments really helped move you forward or potentially held you back. And we want to know about that so we can really think about women in architecture and how we drive those experiences forward and get more women in architecture. We will be doing a bit of a career journey. So we've got 3 kind of stages along your career journey, and we'll unpack that in a minute. We'll have some group reflection. We'll probably go each of the stages and reflect as we move forward. So I may call out a few people's names as we go along, but hopefully I won't freak too many people out, but you're most welcome to share your experiences. If there's experiences that you don't want to share in this session as well, please reach out to Daryl, Heidi, or myself. We can certainly, we'd love to capture any of those experiences. And sometimes there's tricky ones that you might want to not share during a group session, but you can definitely share those, independent of this workshop as well. We've also got a bit of a next step and what we aim to achieve out of this, because there's, an opportunity to really take the information, pull together those key sort of insights and things that come out, the challenges that people have had. There's probably some common stuff, but also common things that have gone well for people. We want to make sure we leverage that, but also look at those challenges and how to solve those. So we might kick off from there, but we'll start by having a little bit of a walkthrough of how to use a Miro post-it note. So has everyone got in the actual board? Is anyone struggling? Please, can you reach out, either send a message, send a scary emoji like help me type thing, or just call out in the session. We want to hear your voices, so please feel free to call out if you're not able to get in as well. Everyone good? I'm assuming it's all thumbs up. Thumbs up. Love a bit of action. So what we're going to do, we have a bit of a limited amount of post-it note colours that we've got, but what we're hoping to do is that everyone learns how to pull a post-it note off these virtual sort of post-it note stacks. We want you to be able to write your name. So choose your favourite colour. Hopefully everyone's got, slightly different colours and we get a nice, rainbow type thing. So pull it off. And then what we want you to do is write your name, and that's the main thing. Maybe move it around, make sure you can do that. And what we want to happen during the session, we actually want you to be able to tag your name onto something. So if I'm going to bring everyone to me for a second, but over here, I did a bit of a test run earlier, so I thought I'd check it out before you guys jumped in there. But you can actually write you can do a little tag, and because you're all architects and you understand how these things work, I think you're going to be like experts at doing a tag. But essentially you pull a post-it note off, and hopefully I can do it. I think I've done it there. And then you press. Can you see? You can't quite see it on mine because you're not seeing what I'm seeing. But Daryl, can you try and click on that green one there, that green post-it note I've just pulled off? And see, there's a little tag on there on the screen up top. There's above your post-it note. To the right, two more to the right. Yep, and there's add tag, and then write Daryl in there. And that'll tag Daryl. So we'd love it if you can do that. Just if you don't want to add your name to things, that's okay. But during the session, we'd love it if you're able to put your name on each of your post-it notes that you put out there. That way we can just get a sense of who's put each comment down. And if you remember, I'll keep reminding you as we go through, but that's what we want you to do. So you'll put a tag and then Daryl will start writing. You can also copy those. So Daryl could, he could, might try and jump on that one. He might write something on that one and then he can copy that across, and that can be another post-it note, and then he writes his next comment on there as well. So that's another way to do it. But if you can all have a little practice at that, that will be good. And then we're going to kick off with the workshop. If you can't do a tag, please call out. All righty. Now feel free to keep practicing as you're going. I'm going to start talking and I'm going to drag Daryl over here. Bring Daryl. No, you're going to come to me, Daryl. Bring to me. And then you're going to come over here. All righty. So in a second, I'll drag you all over here. But if you're looking at the screen that Daryl's sharing, we have got a journey map. And I'm assuming some of you have done journey maps before. I'm going to bring you over here now to concentrate on this part. Sorry to freak you out. So what we've got is 3 stages of this journey map that we're going to fill out. And then we've got different swim lanes that we're going to fill out for each one. We're going to start with early career first, and that's where we're going to teach you how we're going to fill this out. We'll probably spend at least 10 minutes or so filling this out, and then we'll move to the next one. And because you'll already, be gifted at filling these things out, you'll be able to do it yourself as well as we move forward. So the first thing we're going to do, and we've got a lot of people, so we'll have to try and fit all the post-it notes in the little gaps that we've got, but that's okay. We'll be able to do that. We've got you've got some post-it notes here, and if you want to start already, you can. People that are running ahead, you can start running ahead. What we've got is the post-it notes at the top, so you can grab them from there. So try and choose the same color each time. And then, like I said, give it the tag. You can copy that one, or you can grab a new one. You do as you like. And what we're going to do is start at the top swim lane. So this top a rectangle, and that's the sort of career path. So we want to the first swim lane we want to fill out is early career within that first section. And we want to talk about your job titles and role. What did you go in as? So for my early career, and I put it as the green one as an example, I need to tag myself on this one. But I actually started in industrial design. So that's my fun fact about my career starting point. So I'd love to hear about other people and where you started and what your sort of early career was. So it may not be, within the tech space. It might be something. But yeah, we'd love to hear where you started, and then we'll move on from there. We'll then, as people are going forward, maybe I can keep moving down the page. We're going to, the next swim lane, which is a fun one, and we've got these fun emojis here, is you don't have to use an emoji, but you can use an emoji. But this is kind of an emotional sort of journey swim lane. So we've got this dotted line through the centre, and hopefully I'll get Daryl to show what I'm sharing. I'll bring you along, Daryl. Oh. Not do that one. I want to bring, sorry to move everyone off what they were doing. In this next one, we want to talk to the things above the line are things that are probably more positive, the good experiences that you had, and the things that sit below the line, often those challenges that you face. So that's where we've got an example down here where we just put, I felt lonely as a developer, I needed more guidance, support from management. Might be an example. Or the other example we've got is I got to work with a really supportive environment, senior executive took me under their wing. But it could be anything for you guys. It could be about training. It could be about anything that went on in early career that really set you on your path. And some people might be in early career, so that's okay. You'll fill in this, and then we'll be able to learn about others and their careers as they move forward. Now, I'm going to put a 3-minute timer for you guys to fill in those first few sections, just on that first early career, and then we'll go to the things that sit below that. So I'm just going to put the timer on. We will do it for 3 minutes. Oh. I'll keep going. You can put a a nice bit of fun music on. We'll see what happens when I do this. Oh, Miro. The gift that keeps on giving. Oh, I love watching everyone moving around very busily. Keep going.
Quick shout out to Matthew for his tag that just says, his post-it note that says, too many frameworks and fads. Very nice.
So true. As we go through, and I might actually call on a few of the team to call out any, we won't do it straight away, but call out some post-it notes that we want to reflect on. We might ask for some feedback or for people to share. So we're finished with the first swim lane. The first column. Now try and get a little bit into a sentence. So if you've got something to say, give us a little bit more. So imagine me in a week's time and I'm reading these post-it notes. What's going to give me context so I understand what your message is? So if you can give me a sentence, that's going to help later as well. Sorry for the bad mirror music. Now use the emojis if you feel the need. Be expressive. If there's a different emoji you want to pick, you can go into the icon toolkit on the side. For those advanced users, we'd be happy with some other emojis. All right, 13 seconds. Yeah, excellent. All right, we'll come back to these. So what I want to do is just keep going and fill in the rest of this this early career column. And we'll probably spend a couple of minutes on these last three swim lanes. So the first one, and I'll bring everyone to me. Hopefully you won't be upset if I take you off something that you're working on. Okay, so what we've got is this next swim lane is mentors and guidance. So if you had any things, and you might want to bring some of that stuff down if you actually talk to it above. But also we want to hear about things that you wish you had. So we've got an I wish swim lane here, and then an opportunity swim lane. So we might do this. You can put things in that opportunity swim lane, but it might be something you've read up top and you've gone, that would be good if that person had something. Or it might be an opportunity where you see, or you've thought about that yourself, where there's opportunities. So we'll spend a couple of minutes just filling in these last three swim lanes. Feel free to fill in the top as well. But we'll spend a couple of minutes and then we're just going to do some reflection, and then we'll keep going with the other swim lanes. I'll make sure I change the music to another bad song. Here we go. Now, that person that wrote excellent mentors, tell me a little bit more about what makes someone excellent. I'd love to learn.
I think it was Heidi that put that one up there. But Heidi, if you're talking
Yeah,
to us,
I'm getting there. I'm
Yeah,
still working on my
yeah.
other ones.
Define that for me. I want to know. We'll be able to talk some of this out as well and be able to capture it from so, that'll be good too.
in case you're wondering about the silence after the music stopped, we seem to have temporarily lost Fran. So I'm sure she'll be dialing back in a sec. It is.
I thought our time was
Yeah.
up.
And I imagine Fran is frantically trying to rejoin the call at the moment, so we'll be back underway in a sec. Heidi, while we're waiting for Fran to join, did you want to talk a little bit about what you've written there around mentors?
Yeah, I just wanted to share. I had a lot of people that could see the potential. So this is why I'm really passionate about WIA as well. I had the people that could say that I just the approach I took with how I problem solve and understand and listen. So they kind of nudged me in the right direction by giving me different books to read or book suggestions, giving me suggestions on which courses to take, and also actively advocating, setting up meetings for people for job opportunities as well. So I was very lucky.
Yeah, that's great. It's always good when you you come into an environment like that. I had very supportive people managing the team that I joined initially, and then I got the experience, the learning experience of working under people who aren't quite as good, and you certainly learn from both of those. And I think Fran might have rejoined us.
Hello, sorry. My internet's been playing up. Sorry, had you started doing some share backs, Daryl?
Yeah, Heidi was just explaining some of her history on the mentoring side of things, which was great.
Lovely. All right, so we might, should we head back up to the top, and we'll get some other people to share some information as we go as well. Let me just move everyone to the top. Now I'm going to ask for a couple of volunteers just to tell us about where they started. What was their early career? What sort of kicked them off into the space? Do we want to volunteer, or should I ask people to volunteer? What would we prefer? All right, Andrew, I'm going to pick on you first. You can tell us your early career.
Well, I'll preface it with saying that I'm not an architect, but I'm on an architecture journey, nevertheless. So
That's good.
I started out in AS400 sales, selling. Well, we're recruiting for AS400. If anybody knows what AS400 is, it's a beast of a machine. So for me, it was an absolute baptism of fire. I literally was shown a desk and a phone and a pile of CVs and said, right, speak to these people, tell me what you learned by the end of the week. So I think for me, there was no real mentors. It was just an absolute, wouldn't say nightmare, it was an absolute challenge, but absolutely loved it. I reveled in being in the city of London. I reveled just doing an adult's job. In terms of what I just wish as a junior I had some concept of what the world expected. You know, I went into a job which I loved, but didn't really know what good looked like and what the expectations were. I knew I always had to do more, but I think that's the case for a lot of people. Yeah, I speak to a lot of graduates who are after jobs who don't really know what that expectation is. So, yeah, skill set ready, but not job ready.
Yeah, brilliant.
I just want to support Andrew by saying I do know what an AS400 is. It's the IBM mid-range computer that was going to take over the world in the late 80s. I'm not trying to beat you at all, Andrew. But,
that was my one bit of trivia I thought I had.
I love that. I love that. Okay, anyone want to share their early career journey? Because I shared mine earlier, so someone has to share theirs.
I can have a crack at it.
Yay!
So I come from a very traditional background in the sense that I did a computer science degree, joined as a developer. My problem wasn't that I didn't have high level thinking or the design and the high level architecture thought. My problem was I was extremely shy. I was petrified of speaking up in team meetings or presenting. I had a very analytical mind and I could get problem solved really quickly, but taking people on a journey or understanding where the issues are in interpersonal relationships, that was my weaker point in life. And so for many years, especially earlier in my career, I would be angry, frustrated. I've said things. I picked up this problem 3 months ago, 6 months ago, but no one's really hearing it out.
Yeah.
So a lot of my problems across the journey and the growth process wasn't so much solving the problem or, like what the end-to-end solution would be. And in fact, even in the earlier years, it was frustrating that people senior to me couldn't quite grasp it, but I had the solution. But I was this little junior who couldn't really speak or take people on a journey in terms of what I saw.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to speak, how to slow down my thought process. I had to learn that people are here. And the reason I'm employed is because I'm thinking here, but I need to take people from here to here, not just be frustrated that I'm starting here and no one's getting what I'm talking about.
I love it.
So like looking back, I always wished for a mentor who would pick that out. And there were mentors in my journey who were extremely helpful in picking those kind of things out and teaching me techniques of setting context, even though it's very obvious. And everyone should know this. And why am I wasting the first 2 minutes of this really jam-packed meeting setting context? Don't we all know? But chances are we don't. And the importance of bringing everyone on the same page before we go and solve the problem. So a lot of my years developing into senior roles, going from junior roles, being heard was around that, on learning how to speak and articulate in a way that people understood. And for me, a lot of it was really not just solving the problem, it was understanding what are people scared of, what's really worrying them, what's keeping them up at night. And that could be something very different from the problem and the solution, which is a lot more logical, cut and dry, the emotional side of things, and making sure that is incorporated as part of the answer and the solution being presented. I think I spent a lot of my early years learning that and figuring that out the hard way. So if there are people like me on the call who are very much analytical thinkers.
Here we go. You're getting a few thumbs up. Yeah.
I can't stress enough the importance of these, that, the 15-year ago younger me would be like, but it's just so obvious. And but I know the value of it now, and I state the obvious. I make sure I do. I make sure everyone's on the same page before we go and solve the big problems.
Yes. So important. No, a lot of clapping hands.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Love
Good
Gunnar.
enough.
That's nice.
Nice.
We might let's throw to someone else. Have we got another
I can go next.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. I think my story is very similar to Mimi in the beginning, because I'm a computer graduate, computer engineering, and we always are clueless. So we know that only the developer. So I started my career as a software developer with .NET C# in 2005 or so. But when it is like, what next after 1 or 2 years? Clueless. I mean, we just know that it is a one vertical that you become lead or the manager. No one really talked about as an architect, and especially woman in architect. I see very, I think that time I didn't see anyone. So I was always a clueless what it is going to be the next level for me. But only thing worked out for me is I took a different approach, that different opportunities basically someone presented and I grabbed it. So I basically got a chance to cross skill myself in the integration space. So from C#.NET to directly into the integration, which was a unique skill that time. So I was always a good learner, I would say. So I think that was a plus point. I got the good mentors at every stage, but it is not something they directly gave me handy. It was always I had to work on it something, and they will give a feedback. So that feedback mechanism, I think, worked well. So it is a kind of a passive learning for yourself. But again, from the developer mindset to the architect mindset, it is a huge gap. So earlier, that terminology and everything, I was not able to get it exactly how I will go there. So the observation, that passive learning, always learning, going through the different documents helped me. But after some time, I got to know that there is some certification called as TOGAF. So you really need architect mindset for it.
Yeah.
And once I did that, oh yes, that really helped me a lot. But till that time, all people always talk that, oh, the next level is always a manager. For me, I said, no, I think it is a techno leader kind of a concept wherein I can be an architect plus leader. So the leadership concept came very late, or earlier people used to just talk about the managers. Now we have really see that shift. It is the leadership wherein you need to have that unique skill. So that's how my journey started 21 years back. Here I am, technology leader.
That's
But
amazing.
interesting.
That's amazing. But it sounds like you've had to work, having the mentor there's been handy, but you also had to work extremely hard.
Absolutely. Very hard.
To go in
No one
partnership.
directly comes and gives to you. You have to work hard. They probably give you the feedback. It is your learning. You need to learn that. I think that's what worked very well.
And I think in those early years, you're absolutely right. There weren't that many women in architecture. In fact, there were a lot of condescension. Well, if you don't know how to get there, it's probably not for you. And it's like, well, okay. So I resonate with what you're saying. You'd really had to sort of figure it out. And a lot of the times you felt like, what we call today the imposter syndrome. It didn't really have a label back then. What am I doing here? But everybody's so much better than me. I probably shouldn't be here, but I'm here now. I'll give it my best shot. And you go about it that way.
Yeah.
That's great. I just wanted to hear anyone else, if we've got any males in the room that can reflect. Was there a similar experience for any of the guys in the room? Anyone willing to share?
I wanted to do a quick call out to Hugh, who must be a systems thinker, the way that he'd drawn his career path in there with all of the arrows linking everything together.
I know. I'm like, I need to spend an hour on this one, understanding it. Is there anything you'd like to reflect on there, Hugh? What you've pulled together?
I guess my experience is I started off in civil engineering. So, I used to design and build physical structures before I got into technology. And, and then I went, the skills I carried over were more some design, but also checking out designs, knowing how to build them and bringing across project and program management skills. So then I sort of worked in that and operations for a decade. It's only really when I got into technology projects, I've always worked on a lot of launching new things. And so I've moved into being the architect or design. I'd say first I designed things because we didn't have anyone else who would do the design. I was engaged to build something but couldn't find the designer, so I started taking on those roles. So what's the point there? I think it's that if one of the objectives is to widen out architecture to women, I'd say widen out this ability for women in other industries who have what I'd more call engineering or design skills to come in, and make it clear they don't necessarily need to come in early on in their career. I've come into architecture after messing around in other areas for a good couple of decades. So I'd say it's the more broader you can make the opportunity and the openings to come in, because I think there's a lot of transferable skills from a wider set of industries.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that the different perspective or the real environment that you bring into it, similar to myself, where I think in a physical environment, because that's my background, more industrial design, physical spaces, exhibition design, different things, and I think about things in that context. Does anyone else want to, Gavin, do you want to let us know about your experience?
Yeah, look, I'll probably just add in terms of opportunities. Like when I'm hiring architects, I kind of look at 3 different pillars. One is architecture experience. Have you actually done architecture before? Have you done design work before? The second one is around leadership, communication, influencing, building relationships, that kind of stuff. And then the third pillar is around domain knowledge, right? And so when I'm recruiting, I'm looking for, if someone has got at least 2 of those 3, I'm prepared to, as from a development perspective, work on the other one that's missing. We had a good example of someone who came into the team who had really good domain knowledge, really good leadership and communication skills, hadn't done a lot of architecture before. So we then did some mentoring on the architecture part of the competency. But if you've got kind of 2 of those 3 things missing, it's harder. But in terms of being able to grow and create opportunities for others to come into the practice, that's the way I'm sort of looking at it.
No, I like that. And also I think some of the things you were talking about, Mimi, before was, about growing. I think as you evolve in terms of being an adult and growing through your career, you build in some of those communication skills and the confidence and things like that. So, it'd be great to learn those skills when you're really young going into any career. So what we might do is I want you to keep, if things come up as we're going through, keep adding it to this section. But what we're going to do is now go to the next column and fill in that. And that's around sort of developing your career in architecture. Now, some of you might have reflected some of that information in that early career. But what we're going to do is I'll probably put about 5 minutes and then give you an extension, usually what happens at the end. But what we'll fill in this developing your career in architecture, fill in the whole column, so every swim lane that sits in there, and we'll spend 5 minutes doing that. And then we'll come back and do a reflection on that developing career in architecture phase. Everyone good with that? Can I find some extra daggy music to put on this time? Let's see what happens. All right, keep going. And then I want to also hear from others that we haven't heard from, talking about early career. So we'd love to hear from everyone in the group as we go through. Oh, hopefully this doesn't put everyone to sleep. So again, that top one's around the role, different roles maybe you had at that top one. Then we go into the emotional swim lane, the mentors, I wish, and then opportunities at the bottom. If you feel very excited, you can go to the final column, but try and stick to this one for the moment, that some people are speed demons, so they may want to skip ahead. Feel free to give as much context as well. We've got 2 minutes, but if you're lucky, I'll extend it. But let's keep trying to fill in the swim lanes as you go through. I'm very proud of you for all tagging. Beautiful. Good work. All righty, we're going to keep going because you guys haven't done enough work for my liking. I need you to keep going. We've got the 3 bottom swim lanes. We're going to try and get those done in the next, let's give you another 2 minutes to try and get that done. And I'll change the music just to make it feel a little bit more exciting. Hopefully this one gives us something interesting to listen to. Oh no, it's slow again. Let me try and start it again and get some more vibing, better music. Here we go. We're back to this music. All right, keep going. Try and get in those mentors and the I wish moments. I love it. Fake it until you make it. Supportive peers, always good. All right, excellent. All right, what we might do is just do some reflection on this phase, and feel free to keep filling things out as we go. But I'd love to hear from anyone that wants to talk to developing career. We might just get a couple of people's feedback on this. Anyone have a nice, or not so nice story to tell about developing your career in architecture?
Great, I can go if you like.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, so and I don't know if this will resonate with other women on the call, and this is part of the reason why I am very passionate about women in architecture, but I always felt that I had to be correct, right, 100% of the time, and work at least 10 times harder just to prove myself, to feel like I had a seat, so that I earned my seat. And that's actually, as I've developed beyond that point and thought, I do belong here, and I do bring a diversity of thought, different skill set, and I look at problems in a different way, and I learn with the team. So once I let go of that, because it wasn't serving me, I realised that you can focus externally, and that having the right answer is actually holding you back. There's a best answer for the business and the people and the stakeholders based on the business problems, and it's the best outcome because it's people that are solving the problems together. So the right answer, you can try and force the right technical right answer, but it's usually going to hold your career back. So that was a really great learning that I had, and I wish I had that learning a lot earlier in my career.
Oh, it's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. I just in terms of my own journey, it was interesting because I come from a design background, industrial designs, pure design. It's not a design thinking sort of framework, but later in my career, I learned about sort of design thinking, and that certainly helped me get over a lot of probably some of the fear that you're talking about, because I started to see challenges as opportunities or problems or things that I was, feeling fearful of. I turned into an opportunity space and started to see things in a different light, and certainly powered up my own career path from that perspective. But yeah, totally understand that feeling that you've had. Anyone else want to talk to developing your career? Yeah, Frank.
One of the things I thought, and it's it's quite interesting. So I've done a lot of kind of mentoring and coaching and bringing people in. But that's the sort of story that Heidi presented. Took me many, many years to kind of learn, and there wasn't. And then it is kind of like when I had a couple of very strong women in my team, and they kind of express this view of that we're not getting the opportunity, and we seem to have to work harder, and all that sort of stuff. Where I kind of always send everyone on the same playing field. And, somebody had to put me in a corner and say, hey, this is what's really happening under the covers. This is the anxiety I'm feeling about that, before I actually realized that there was such a thing, right? And maybe a regret of mine is that I didn't kind of work that out 20 years ago, rather than the last 10 years ago. But at the same time, it took that person that much time to come and look at me in the eye and say, this is the sort of stuff that I'm facing every day that you don't see, even though you're my boss, which kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah, that's excellent. Understanding what other people are feeling and what's going on for them, and then how do you support them through that? I think it's really amazing reflection, and can have a far greater impact if you really understand the multiple perspectives around you. Anyone else want to talk to this one before we move to the final column?
Just wondering if we call out somebody, Fran, maybe Shweta?
I might. Oh, there we go. You've done it.
There we go.
Yeah, I think for me, because I like Mimi and Lala, I come from developer background, so I got into solution designing, which was kind of problem solving to the extent I was doing architecture, but I didn't know it is real architecture. So I learned from my peers and the architects I used to work closely with, and that's where I think that helped me on the job as well. Like what do the architects do, which I need to upskill and learn and be an architect. So yeah, and then a lot of continuous learning on patterns and what we use in architecture, etc. And mentors like Frank will support.
Nice. Oh, Frank, bit of a call out there.
Nice work.
It's all the coffee I buy.
Well, if coffee is part of it, that could be an opportunity space. Do we have anyone, a last person that wants to talk to their experience?
Yeah. So I can go. As I mentioned in here, I moved from Adelaide, and I think the network really matters. So I did a lot of roles in the consulting style, and eventually fell into this architecture, like building business architecture for using TOGAF with one of the enterprise architect that was also a network in my networks back then. And then since I fell in love with it and it came naturally, and I thought it should be my career path. And when I moved to Brisbane, again, to start off, I had to pick up any job to keep me going. And again, it went backwards. And I feel like the support in the community is really important for anyone to pick up such roles. And I reached out to a few people here. And as it is not part of my network, or it takes time to build the network, right? So it just takes, I'm still struggling to really have that kind of a path or jobs help in terms of what is available and how it could lead from there. So yeah, that's, I think, kind of a challenge I'm facing at the moment.
Yeah, good. Well, anyone on the call that might be able to solve that, would love to hear from people. That physical change, from locations is another perspective. There's all these different dimensions. There's probably those tools that people need to use, or the skills, those hard skills, there's the mindset side of things, and just looking at different notes and things, those consulting skills, or like I said, the mindset and how you shift over time, but also, you know, these people around you, your support network, your mentors. So how do you get all those things happening to put you in the best space is fascinating.
Yeah, mid-career, I remember that it was, because from an architecture perspective, whether it's a solution architect, enterprise architect, application architect, definitionally, it's quite broad. So who you're talking to, are they your kind of people? The advice they're providing, is that truly good advice? Because you kind of have to apply it to understand it, and sort of have to go through the experience somewhat to really kind of know, no, this is not my type of architecture. This is, I don't see value in it. That's not to say that's wrong, or it just wasn't the right fit for perhaps that organization, or you know, for the problem that you're trying to solve. So much of it definitionally is broad. I think mid-career, there's a bit of murkiness to figure out what good looks like for you, and where your strengths that you're bringing to the table, which type of architecture or which style of architecture is a good fit for you, that you can, you know, feel like a sense of achievement, you can accomplish things. I feel like architecture is one of those spaces, it's not very well defined in terms of these are my strengths, and therefore this is the type of, it's sort of almost, everybody starts from step one to figure it out for themselves.
Also the organization
helps to a degree, but then you know, it's just a bunch of principles that you sort of go, okay, it just helps set the table.
Right. Even the organizations that call some of the roles as an architect role doesn't really tend to end up being an architect role. It's like their definition of what they want is totally different to an, you know, traditional style or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And sometimes it's just luck of the draw. Like I look back and it's like, actually a couple of them that I looked up to were not that good architects, but at the time they were the best I had access to, and you learned more. And then I was very fortunate to be associated with some of the best minds available in that city, and it's like, well, I'm so grateful for that. But that's always hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because at the time you don't know, and you're doing the best you can, and you're taking the best advice we can. And it requires a bit of time to work through, and a bit of experience of what is good.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I just check on the call? Is anyone going to be jumping off soon? Because we'll keep going if that's okay with people. We'll try and get the next section done, but I will also want to have an opportunity at the end to make sure everyone understands how we're going to move forward on this. The other thing I just wanted to ask Mimi, in terms of these architects that you're talking about, were they male or female architects in terms of who you thought were good, and you know, they were probably the best you had at the time? And I guess I'm teasing out whether we think more women in architecture will increase the quality of architects that we have in the future.
Look, at the period that I'm talking to, I don't think it's so much gender reflective in terms of, you know, good or bad. I don't think there's a correlation or a causation there, but it's more when I was mid-career, the area we're talking to, most of the architects that I had access to were male. Females were quite rare. I forget, somebody mentioned this, it's almost like the females that were there, they were absolutely brilliant, because they had to be, to even get a look in, to even be considered. And you also had to work 10 times harder to just be considered okay, because it was just a rarity. So majority were male, but I don't think it's more a male-female thing. It's just the headspace that people are in. Some people are just naturally attuned to solve things and they're better at it. And then others are okay at it. But in architecture, because it's just so broad from a definition perspective, when you are quite young in your career, it's very hard to assess who you are looking up to, and are they truly doing good? Because a lot of the times the impact is 3 years later or 5 years later, and you look back on it and go, well, that could have been done better, or wow, that was brilliant for the time. Like, I'm so glad I was part of that revolution. Right? It's a mixed bag of both, but it's very much a hindsight thing.
Nice. As we're going through the conversations and hearing from others, if there is any sort of sparks of ideas that you have for these opportunity space, please feel free to add your post-it notes down the bottom as well, where you think we could, imagine we took action. What would that be, and the opportunities that we could drive and help solve some problems through different things. So please feel free to add that to the bottom swim lane. I'd love to, I'm sure you've got some sparking of ideas that are coming off at the moment. All right, so we're gonna finish up this last column, and so in this space, you may not feel that you're in that space, and that's okay. We'll get some established architects to talk to this one, but we'll put down a couple of minutes just to try and fill in this last column before we start to wrap up. We'll get a few people talking, and we'll wrap up from there. So I am again going to try and find some daggy music to put on. Let's see if we can come something that keeps us on. I don't think they've changed the music I think this is what I played at the start, but it kind of worked. Yeah, what's the one? There's not many to choose from.
It's DJ Fran.
We should have got my husband here. He's much better at this. Okay, so
Fran,
sorry, what was that, Daryl?
Sorry. I was just going to say, while they're working away on adding some additional content there, I was thinking during that last conversation that I've seen many types of bias, some of it very explicit, and some of it obviously just from people not having the opportunity to reflect on their own behaviours. But one of them, and I don't know if anybody else has had this, but there were some industries I couldn't get a look in. And I like to think that I've got a reasonable track record and career behind me. And I couldn't get an interview. And one of those was the resources sector. I literally couldn't get an interview in an architecture role in that industry. And then I went and worked for a consultancy who immediately put me into the resources sector, and it was fine. And it's that sort of bias that's inherent in some industries that unless you know the subject matter, your skills are irrelevant. And I think that's one of the things we need to do as a discipline, is to encourage an understanding of the transferable nature of the skills that we have.
Yeah, for sure. Love that. Just zooming out from our journey mapping forward, we've got a lot of post-it notes to go through. Daryl, this is going to be a bit of work. We might need a bit of AI to help us through some of this.
This is brilliant. Talk about exceeding expectations.
Yeah, this is very exciting.
It's interesting. I was
doing a good job.
Miro's actually got a feature where you can point it at sticky notes and it'll summarize it up into a certain template.
I'm going to be doing exactly that. But there's some really good detail in here, and that helps us look at that information. So thank you for everyone, all your hard work. We'll keep going. We're nearly at the end. We've got a few people writing, but we'll need those established architects to tell us all about this space. And I'm sure people are really interested in what their future could be if they're not quite at that stage. So we want to hear your wisdom. Maybe there's some things that aren't still going well for you. We'd love to hear about that as well. But what is going well for you? We'd love to hear about that. All right. You might, while people are still filling in, we might see if anyone's ready to tell us about their their journey at this moment in time. Who wants to talk to this one? Matthew, are you a wise, established architect that wants to talk to this?
Oh yeah, at this point.
I'll put a hand up for Matthew.
Nice.
Yeah, so I did come from software development background, so that Mimi's comments were very interesting because she's learned everything that I only learned 5 minutes ago about how to kind of retrospectively understand that transition, because there's something about starting as a software developer that makes you think the whole world is actually software development, and throwing yourself out of that world is the important part. It doesn't really matter where you land, right? It's like just exposing yourself to new experiences gets you a long way, and then mid-career you start to do this thing where fit becomes more important than new experiences. So it's actually you get less value from something just because it's novel. You get more value from something just because you stop having to pretend you're someone you're not. You go, I actually like this environment. So I really like that description. At this point, from an architecture perspective, I think there's value in reducing its broadness. Now, someone mentioned it's a very broad discipline. So the idea of pure business architect roles are interesting to me now, right? So you can do architecture as a skill set of, structured, delineated, shared understanding, working with people on how they view the world and putting a model to that. Just purely business architecture. You don't have to do the instinct we all have of going, oh, it has to be a stack. You have to go business architecture, application architecture, data, infrastructure. You don't have to do all of it, because nobody wants to hear all of it, right? people want to hear the business architecture, or if you're in the application space, they want to hear the application architecture. The rest is context, but sometimes you don't have to do the context. You just have to let others do the context and hook into them as people, not as models and architecture layers, which is we all learn at our own pace. And some of us are still learning, I guess. The other part is, and I think Daryl's excellent at this, and I'm probably using his phrase, architecture is just one of the change disciplines, right? There's other professions that are trying to work out how they fit into the world, who have other professionals in them. So someone who's an organizational change manager or a program director could also sit in a group like this and go, yeah, actually, when first I started my career, and I thought there was just one path up from project manager to program manager, and then I wanted to move around, and there were these architects, so maybe that's a better path. So this idea that as there's change disciplines that are all striving for this and working more closely with them, I think really, maybe people do it earlier than I have, but I've really embraced that in the past few years. And I think I said before, architecture is a way of thinking rather than a role. So let yourself do other roles and bring your architecture skill set with you. If it's a general manager role, I think a really good general manager is somebody might say it's 80% people management. I actually think it's 80% architecture. I wouldn't not do the people management because you'll fail, but there's an architecture element to most sort of senior roles, and just bring it with you, and you don't even have to mention it's an architecture skill set. Just use it. And related to that is architecture done in a pure form is advice giving. So people with really good architects want to tell you that you're not actually making the decision, you're advising others to make the decision. And I hate that. Like, if we're trying to explain to the world there's this thing called a business architecture that exists and has value, and we're a business architect, but it's not our job to be accountable for that thing we've just described to you, you get yourself in a weird situation. So I think later career you do tend to sort of go, I'm an architect, but what I'm really doing, if I'm a business architect, it's because I'm accountable for this business. If I'm an application architect, it's because I'm accountable for these applications. And you're old enough to not turn into interpersonal issues because you're always arguing with people, but you're taking accountability for decisions that before you were just telling everybody, you were just advising them, and nobody wants advice, right? People, if they want an advisor, they'll hire an advisor. They want people to help them make decisions, and sometimes you just stand up and you make those decisions. So I think that transition over the last few years for me has really been how I've kind of thought of architecture, which, you know, maybe that's just me, but.
Well, I think everyone, you got so many emojis just before. A lot of people are sending a lot of love your way. So I think you definitely hit a spot there. Gavin, do you want to talk to us about your experience?
Yeah, sure. So look, I guess I've been leading architecture teams for probably 15 years or so, in sort of tier 1 banks and energy companies. And I think through that journey, part of it is being really conscious of what sort of role do you see yourself in 3 years or 5 years time, and what sort of experience do you need to move up to that particular role. So when I was in this kind of the middle part of my career, you know, I was doing work in a certain part of an organization, and then I took the next role, you know, after 1 or 2 years, to move across into another domain and move across into another domain and build up experience across domains to then allow you to move up a level as the next career step. And that sort of continued through, so that you're not sort of staying in the same position too long. And then an opportunity comes up and there's a chief architect role, and you've worked across 4 of the business units, maybe not 5, but maybe 4 of them. And then you're in a good position in order to be able to take that opportunity and then develop from there. So that would kind of be my advice. Be conscious of where you've got gaps. You know, if you've got a couple of years experience working in a retail business, or working with industrial, institutional customers, or working in manufacturing, whatever it might be, you know, that's enough to be able to understand the base part of that and to move across and have a conscious decision as to whether you want to be a deep specialist or whether you want a leadership role and you want to be able to move into, you know, a CIO role or a CTO role, whatever it might be, because that then determines sort of where you focus in. I think it's really important during that time. I sort of went from a developer through to sort of business and enterprise architecture stuff, and then sort of during some of that time, you know, modern software development practices and cloud and all that sort of stuff came into play. So I took a conscious decision to change roles a few years back to run a cloud architecture team, a data architecture team, a distributed systems microservices team, to get back into that level of detail of how all those things work. And I've certainly seen over the last probably 7 years a much higher expectation of architects to be more technical, and to be able to work and engage with engineers and to be able to explain and help solve problems. That's much more of a trend. I'm finding it, you know, more difficult, I think, with less technical skills. But there are, as we've talked about on the call, you know, you can have a business architecture role, or you could be in the early part of the stage where you're shaping the conceptual or logical architecture, and you don't need to go to the physical. So it's all about sort of working out your niche, working out where your strengths are, working out what your career path wants to be. And then actively working with that, right? It's good to have mentors and things to help you, but ultimately you have to push your own career and know what you're aiming for, and don't stay still for too long.
Love it. What beautiful words. Is there anyone else that wants to sort of wrap us up? Daryl? Oh, Daryl, you've got your hand up. I was going to throw to you anyway.
Yeah, actually, I just put my hand up so I could throw to you, Fran, and hear your perspectives on being a leader in the industry.
Oh, wow. So I guess, you know, I get what Matthew said around perspectives and bringing different people together and sort of owning your perspective is really important with the work that I do. And it is a lot around collaboration, bring different minds together, those architect minds, the customer experience people, the change managers, the product managers, those different brains together. And I think, I see it as a bit of a machine, and if you don't have these different perspectives working together, it becomes too one-sided. So I really liked what Matthew said around you know, working together, and I think that's where I have really pushed my work with some of our clients into that space where it is that MDT type approach where you bring those perspectives together to really look at problems from that customer perspective, technical perspective, business architecture, business perspective, to really solve problems well, because you've got that 360 on the problem and solution space. So I think that's my key thing, is like having that diversity, whether it's different types of individuals as well, plus different type of roles coming together. So Daryl, anything from you to wrap us up on this one?
I'll just say that some of us we all have very, very different paths that we're treading, and some of us, such as the people that have organised this session, have added to their responsibilities as an architect to also think about the discipline and how to build more capacity and capability, both here in Australia and around the world. And if that's of interest to anybody, then please do get involved. It's great from my perspective to be able to give back to work that has supported me through my life. And I find it personally very rewarding to be able to be part of these groups that give back and build the next generation.
Love that. All righty, because we're getting close to time, we might start to wrap up, and I'll take us to the next steps board here. I might throw to Clarissa. You're going to talk us through these next steps and what we aim to do with all this hard work you guys have all put in. Do you want to jump on, Clarissa?
Yeah. Hi everyone. So for the next steps after this presentation, we will be collecting all the information that we have gathered into the in the mirror board that everyone has put in, and thank you for those information as well. Then we're gonna have them develop insights, and if you want more information, please let us know. And then after that, we will develop, based from those information, we will develop new workshops or talks probably of ideas, and get ideas from them on how to teach everyone to get into the architecture role. After that, we will also develop a roadmap to target the opportunities that might be in the market. And for people who are interested, we do have who wants to join volunteering for our meetup or for our group, please contact Daryl. We would really be glad to have you in the team. For me, I'm still starting in architecture, but I joined the team for about 4 months ago, which I also met them in just one of the meetup groups. And I'm doing my best, and I'm learning from these inspiring people, and I'm learning a lot from them. So yeah, I encourage for people to join as well. It's mostly online, just in case if you're worried that you're based somewhere in Southern Hemisphere.
Beautiful. Amazing. Thank you. I just wanted to do a final call out just to the crew that's pulled together tonight's session. It's really nice to be part of a group, and beyond this group within the collective for the Women in Architecture, but certainly this group that's come together to bring tonight together, as well as Heidi and Daryl and the wider group. So thank you again. And we'll start to wrap up now. But we loved having you part of this session. We'll bring you in for future sessions going forward, but reach out if you want to get more involved, and we'll take it from here, make things happen. Beautiful. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, good night.
Awesome.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.